All right, we're recording. I want to start with a time I joined a well-known game company, right? It was in Oxford Street. I turned up on day one at their planning, and the developers were estimating, like Fibonacci, planning poker. And when the developers shared their estimation with the product owner gave them a look.
Take a look.
A look, man. And it was like daggers. And you know what? Sometimes you learn more about people when they don't say anything. The developers then rediscussed it, and lo and behold, the estimation was far easier.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Martin, this is a good example of the developers just didn't feel safe, man. They didn't feel
Yeah.
safe. Um, and I don't know if you've seen this before, because I guess we're going to move towards a psychological safety conversation. But when I saw this, I found this a very tricky situation because the product owner um, was kind of intimidating, and they had a lot of power in the organization.
And what I'm curious to hear, like, what was causing him to be that way? Was it him, right, or her, or was it like the environment, like
Yeah.
the pressure from above, or maybe you don't know. I'm just curious, like, because I don't like, it could be right that he's just he or she is just an intimate. It was a he or she, by the way. Maybe that's just easier
Yeah,
to
yeah,
say.
yeah. Well, this chap. First of all, when I come out of that meeting and I started to learn about the developers in the first second week, and I got to know people, what I got back was something interesting. He wasn't always like this.
Really?
This is what I got. Like, he's not always like this. And the lead developer there was particularly supportive, and maybe so supportive it felt like he was willing to comply too quickly, and the others would follow in line.
Yeah.
So that one signal I got was when there was a bigger investment in the company and it was all focused on growth,
Yeah.
something changed.
Interesting. So basically, they were trying to make the estimates appear more reasonable or lower so that the ROI would be higher or better, or look better on paper, I guess.
Well, it was very much like this, right? If you got one PBI here, they were saying this PBI, which is meant to be like an 8, is suddenly like a 3.
Yeah,
And what is often the victim when you make software developers go faster is the stuff that you can't see immediately, which is the quality.
yeah, correct.
So, like the automated testing or the unit testing or the solid principles, these things were being dropped under the bonnet.
Correct.
Um, and that would appease the PO because it looked like on paper to the stakeholders, hey, look at our points. We're going faster.
Crazy, yeah. And then
Yeah.
of course you set yourself up for failure in the long run, right? Because you create technical debt, and then people are angry. Like, how does that happen? Well, it's all perfectly explainable. If yeah, so I honestly think like psychological safety is like the bedrock of high performing teams, right? If people don't feel safe, then it causes, like, it lowers team performance. Like, I don't know if you're familiar, like
Yeah,
Google did the Project Aristotle research,
I am. Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, and the conclusion there was far more important that there was like a safe environment than who was on the team. Of course, this was at Google, so probably the average level is super high, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, and yeah, Patrick's Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. The bottom
Great
is
book. Great book.
psychological safety. So
Great book.
yeah, I think product owners have a super important role there. And yeah, so even though maybe in the short term it
Uh,
resulted maybe in more being delivered, yeah, I think it
uh,
doesn't set you up for success. Like,
it does. It does. I'm just thinking out loud. Um, but the concept of psychological safety, where because people I think misunderstand psychological safety.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
how would you describe it to somebody new?
Yeah, so I'm curious if I'm going to do a good job now, but I think it's about like people are feel safe to take risks, right? Like that they're like they've there's like a certain trust, like, hey, I can make mistakes, and then when they dig into these mistakes, it's not going to be about the person, right? It's going to be
Uh,
about, hey, what happened, what can we learn? I think that's like the how would, is that how you would also define it, or
Yeah, I think so. I think of like whether it's work or outside of work, what do all of my best relationships have in common? And it's our ability to dissent.
yeah,
Like I could have a robust conversation with someone who is near and dear to me, and I've got a good rapport, and I know that the next day, I don't have any fear of reprisal, or they may have not held it against me.
yeah,
You know, um, there is that, but I also wonder. do you think there's a lot of emphasis in the agile community for the product owner to help create that psychological safety?
I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I've written about it. I think that the product owner plays a crucial role. Like, because basically, like, so I don't know why, right? But in the Scrum community, we often kind of like talk about you have the Scrum Master, you have the product owner, you have the developers. What I
Yeah,
like about the new Scrum guide is kind of like you have the Scrum team, and I really believe in that. Like, it's a Scrum team that
yeah,
delivers value. And yes, we have accountabilities, but we're a team. You know, like defenders can help attack, attackers can help defend. Like
yeah.
we need to have that, and that's my mentality. But yeah, so very often I hear Scrum Masters talking about it. Product owners, not so much. I don't. Maybe they don't even know. I don't know. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, can I just say, I want to echo what you said. What I like about the Scrum Guide, the accountabilities part, and we know the striker has got a speciality score, but if we lose the ball, they should maybe backtrack as well.
Yeah, correct.
So this mentality that all for one and one for all is really important, and entering the conversation with curiosity over judgment, I think really helps. But do you know why I think this perception is there? If I can talk for myself,
Yeah,
it's become acceptable for many teams that the product owner is maybe not as visible and is not always available.
correct.
You know, and then once in a while they turn up to the retro, and then the developers go quiet.
Yeah. I understand what you mean.
So
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. Is that what it is? Is that part of it?
yeah. I mean, I do agree. So I think Mike Cohn has written a nice article, right? So, for example, when we talk about the daily Scrum, right, like the product owner doesn't have to participate. Well, doesn't have to be there,
Yeah.
and when they're there, they're not supposed to participate. But if you
Mm.
look at it from the Scrum team perspective, right, the product owner is never there. Like when the team does their work, how much is he part of the team? He or she part of the team? You understand what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's the main thing where I'm like, yeah, like you look at pure Scrum,
Mm.
product owner doesn't have to be there. But if you look at it for we're one team and you want to be part of the team, they should be there. And that's what I think Mike Cohn wrote an article on that. And then I don't think you have those problems that you mentioned, where it's kind of like the product owner swoops in. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Darth Vader comes in, dun, 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 dun. Like every now and then, like is he or she going to be happy or not? Like, and then yeah, everything needs to
Yeah.
change. That's not good, I think.
No, you know what? I like. I'm not sure I've seen this article from Mike Cohn, but I like what you're speaking to here because imagine if you only turn up once in a while, then understandably the dynamic of the room is going to be different, and
Yeah,
it might come across as transactional. Oh, they're
correct.
only here when something exploded or something went wrong. So even if that
Exactly.
PO is not trying to come across that way, if you're not available and present, I'm not sure that helps the team dynamic.
Correct.
You
Yeah,
know.
I think Mike Cohn calls it like the whole team mindset, like yeah, being part of the team, like, and I think that's super important because yeah, otherwise you get this like how do you say dynamics where I place an order and as a product owner and they execute and yeah, things just kind of become weird in my opinion. You're not really a team. You're kind of like they're providing a service or something, and that's not the same.
Yeah, it's transactional, and you know, last time we spoke, you made a point about talking about how a system can affect people,
Yeah,
and I do wonder if there's an underlying real big challenge in big organizations in how the product owner role is understood, and when that person becomes too stretched, it may not be their fault, right? That they may not have that ability to be
yeah,
available all the time because they don't know how to really get that
yeah.
support.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think one of the challenges is, in Scrum, right? Like one product owner per product. What is a product? I mean, we can talk about that also, but I think the main challenge is there is a limit to the number of teams. And it's not mentioned in the Scrum guide, but I can tell you when I talk to product owners, it's usually 1 to 3 teams. And the
Right.
ones that do 4 or 5 teams, maybe even already at 3 teams, they start to become too stretched. They cannot be part of the team. So that's one of the things where I believe, like, yeah, like Scrum prescribes this, but more than 3 teams is already becoming crazy. 5 is insanity, and what less prescribes, like 8 teams. I mean, I can safely vouch like that's not good. Like you cannot be part of the team with 8 teams.
It feels ambitious. You know, Martin, as we come up to like the ninth minute, do you know this might be a great topic, right? Because you know in the Scrum guide it talks about the product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product,
Yeah,
and they could delegate responsibility to the. So I wonder if you do scale the role and you get to 3 or 4, does the product owner actually, do you know what I mean, lean into the team and ask for that help, or are
yeah,
the team just seen as the people that write the code?
yeah.
So there might be something there.
So what I can tell you is if you have 8 teams, you're not going to attend every meeting. I can guarantee you that. And basically, your main job is to make yourself as unnecessary as possible. Like that every day they can make decisions without needing you. That should be your job. And I think that's a big challenge. And yeah, it's possible, right? But the reality is depends on many factors, like how mature is the team, how much they know about the product, the business, and the customer. Like you can work to get there to some extent, and that means you can do more teams. But 8 teams, I don't believe it. Like,
Yeah, and at least I haven't seen it work very well, that number. So this sounds like a good topic to come into. All right, Maarten, any parting words as we wrap this one up then?
yeah, I just think like product owners, like I understand you want people to deliver results, but if you put pressure the wrong way, you destroy psychological safety, and that is actually hurting your delivery value more than any of those timelines you care about. So don't do that. Like it's super important for high performing teams.
Yeah, man. Wise words. And often improvement lives in the difficult conversations. And if I'm kind of scared of you or to get in conflict with you, we can't talk about those issues, and then improvement
Yes,
suffers. Like whether it's the process, the quality, the interactions, all of it.
you're absolutely right. Like because yeah, how do you say it's the intersection of like different factors, right? Like how do
Yeah.
we build it technically? How valuable is it? Like we need to have those conversations. If people don't feel safe to challenge the product owner or the product owners to challenge others, you're not going to have the right conversations.
Yeah. Well said. Awesome. Okay. Brilliant. Thanks for watching.
Have a great day.
Cheers.